Hello again. Just wanted to make a quick video here reacting to your rough drafts as I just read them. So you now have my comments up on Moodle of your rough drafts. If you go to where you submitted it, you should be able to see like the highlights and stuff. And then if you scroll over the file, there should be comments that like pop up when you scroll the mouse over them. Make sure to read the comments. As usual, I try to ask you questions or kind of make suggestions or let you know if you're not going in the right direction, that kind of stuff. So make sure that you read those comments. Send me an email if any of them are confusing. Um, have to say, a little concerned. I only received about 4 drafts. I would definitely like to see some more submitted. There's definitely still time in the class to make up a lot of the work. I know, if you fell behind early in the semester or if you had trouble adjusting to the online class or, I know these semesters are crazy, COVID and everything else. So I'm definitely, on the level with you guys. And I'm, still accepting late work, and there's still time to, try to get some of that stuff in. But the essays are the most important thing. If you're not handing in the essays, it's going to become, really tough to try to pass the course. So you want to make sure that you're getting those in. I do think that the drafts will help you. I do think getting my feedback on the drafts will help you to get the final product done. I know you might be thinking, like, how am I going to write 4 pages about this stuff? Well, if you give me a draft, I can, even if all you can do is a page or two, I can say, well, maybe you could add this, or like, what about this quote, or think about this, and I can try to make some suggestions to help out with that. So anyway, would love to see some more drafts, but just wanted to give my reactions to the ones that I saw. Like I said, go take a look at my comments. You also have the plans for revision that I believe is due on Friday, where it's asking you for just a couple of bullet points about things you're going to work on to go from your rough draft to the final version. Obviously, if you look at my comments, hopefully that'll help you to think about what you want to work on. Okay, so my main thing with the drafts that I saw, the main thing that I want to get back to is the kind of thesis that we have for this sort of paper. Since this is a literary analysis paper, what we're doing is making an argument that is ultimately about the story. So, if you find yourself like telling me, what you think about the immigration stuff or how you feel about it or your position on it, that's all fine and well, but that's not really what this kind of essay does. This kind of essay, it's your opinion, but your opinion about what the story thinks about these topics, right? Basically, what we're trying to do is kind of decode what the story thinks about these topics, what the story's trying to tell us about these topics, what the story wants to show us about these topics. So, if you think back to when we did like the episode of SpongeBob or that Pokemon essay, a few weeks ago at the beginning of this literary analysis unit, you'll remember like with the SpongeBob episode, we said, okay, the episode's kind of about going on strike. And then we asked the question, like, is it trying to say going on strike is a good thing or a bad thing? And then we had kind of our reasons based on what happened in the episode on both sides. So we want to do something similar here. So when we look at what's the story saying about immigration, well, does it, the immigration system, let's say, what does the story think about the immigration system? Does it think that it's good or does it think that it's bad? Well, it definitely thinks that it's flawed in certain ways, and then we can get specific and we can say, oh, well, it shows us that the immigration system is flawed because, Mrs. Dorego has to wait 7 years and she still hasn't gotten her green card. It takes too long. Also, for Eve and Mrs. Dorego, it kind of keeps them from becoming independent, right? For them to become independent, they need their immigration status to be different than what it is. They need to have a green card or something so that for Mrs. Dorego, because that's something that's keeping her attached like to her husband, whether or not she wants to be. And for Eve, it's something that's keeping her attached to the Doregos because her visa is through the Doregos. So for her to go out on her own and be independent, she has to, kind of change her immigration status. So again, you want to be really specific like that. What is the story trying to say? Okay, it's showing us that immigration is difficult. Well, according to the story, what are the specific ways that immigration is difficult? And I think if you get to that level of being specific about it, it feels like more of an argument. You'll have more to say. You can get more paragraphs and everything like that. So same thing with protesting. Is the story trying to show us that protesting is a good thing or a bad thing? This is kind of what I talked about in my video on protesting, right? I said, well, it shows us that it's dangerous, but maybe it's also kind of worth it because of the ending. There's the part where Eve talks about the violence and the murders and everything, all the suffering from that people who protested that was inflicted upon them. But then we have the end of the story where the protest that Madam Queen is leading is kind of successful because the company is going to negotiate with them. So, it shows us that protesting is dangerous, but kind of worth it, something like that. Again, as long as you're answering the question, what is the story trying to say about this topic? You'll have a thesis, you'll have an argument, you'll be analyzing the story, you'll be writing a literary analysis essay. Something else that I saw sometimes was like, and something that is difficult with this kind of essay is the difference between like summary and argument. I definitely saw some people who were kind of just telling me what happened in the story, and maybe they were trying to reframe it around like independence or you know, around like what the characters were trying to do, like Eve's trying to break away and be on her own. Like, yes, that's true, but what's the message? That's not a message, right? So we got to remember that when you're telling what happened in the story, that's only important in the way that it connects to your argument. You need to have what your argument is, what you're trying to convince me of, which again is the message that the story is sending, what you think it's trying to say about these topics. That's what you're trying to convince me of. So when you summarize parts of the story, you need to connect it back to that argument. So if you're trying to say that the story shows us how like the immigration system can keep people from gaining their independence, you can use the quote where Mrs. Dorego says it's been 7 years and I still haven't got it, and then you can explain how that shows the immigration system being difficult in this like very specific way. Oh, another thing I saw with people writing about the immigration topic, I feel like I saw this in a couple different essays. People mentioning how one of the difficulties with immigration is like having problems with the English language. I don't know why that was getting brought up. I don't think that's something that the characters in the story really deal with, right? It seems like Eve and the Doragos don't really seem to have a problem with English. I think Eve might have an accent or something. I think the kids at one point remarked that she has an accent. I don't know if maybe if she has, because they say like, are you one of those people who calls cookies biscuits or something like a British kind of thing? I don't know if she has sort of an English accent because people who learn English in other parts of the world will learn like English, British English. So they might have like a British accent, but it doesn't seem like Eve or the Doragos really have a problem with the English language at all, honestly. So I was a little confused why people were bringing that up. I don't know if you guys like looked something up and you were reading something that was like listing that, but I would try to avoid that. I would really try to avoid reading too many of these like summaries or these little like analysis things, because it's kind of easy to see when people are kind of relying on those, and I just don't think they're very credible. I think you're better off just thinking of what your own ideas are, and that'll get you further. That'll honestly, I think, be easier than trying to find something else. So yeah, the main thing for me again is the argument, having that be the central thing. What the story is showing us about these topics, and that you're focused on that as your thesis, with everything else backing that up. And that's really the main thing that I want to see here. Okay, I think that's good for now. We'll talk about this more, and I'll see you later.